Let me take you back to 1974. I was living in Amityville, Long Island at the time, a quiet, peaceful town where nothing much ever happened. But that all changed on November 13th, 1974. That's the night the DeFeo family was murdered in their home at 112 Ocean Avenue. I'll never forget it. None of us will. The DeFeos were a typical family, at least from the outside. Ronald DeFeo Sr. was a successful businessman who owned a car dealership. His wife, Louise, was a homemaker, and they had 5 kids. Ronald Jr., who everyone called Butch, Dawn, Allison, Mark, and John. They lived in this big, beautiful Dutch colonial house with those iconic quarter-moon windows. It was the kind of house you'd drive by and think, that's the American dream. But behind those walls, things were far from perfect. Ronald Sr. was a tough man, strict, controlling, and sometimes violent. Louise struggled with alcoholism, and the kids, well, they were caught in the middle. Butch, the oldest, was 23 at the time. He was a troubled kid, always getting into fights, dropping out of school and getting mixed up in drugs. He worked at his father's dealership, but there was always tension between him and his dad. Looking back, I guess you could say the family was a ticking time bomb. Now, here's where it gets really dark. On the night of November 13th, Butch snapped. He took a .35 caliber Marlin rifle and killed his entire family while they slept. One by one, he went into their rooms and shot them. His parents were first. Ronald Sr. was shot twice in the back, and Louise was shot once in the head. Then he moved on to his siblings. Dawn, who was 18, was shot in the back and the head. Allison, just 13 years old, was shot in the face. Mark and John, the youngest at 12 and 9, were both shot in the back. It was brutal. Unthinkable. But here's the thing, no one heard a thing. Not a single gunshot. The house was quiet. The neighbors didn't hear anything. It was like the house itself swallowed the sound. And when the police arrived the next day, they found the bodies face down in their beds, all shot execution style. There was no sign of a struggle. They'd been asleep when it happened. Can you imagine? Your own brother, creeping into your room in the middle of the night, pointing a gun at you. The next morning, Butch went about his day like nothing had happened. He went to work at the dealership, told his co-workers his family was away on vacation, and even stopped by a local bar to have a drink. But later that afternoon, he went back to the house. He broke a window, ransacked the living room, and tried to make it look like a robbery. Then he went back to the bar and told a friend, "You got to help me. I think my mother and father are shot." When the police arrived, they found the bodies. It was a scene straight out of a nightmare. The family dog, a German shepherd named Shaggy, was locked in the basement, unharmed. It was like Butch had planned it all out, locking the dog away so it wouldn't bark, waiting until everyone was asleep. It was cold, calculated. And yet, when they arrested him, he seemed off, like he wasn't all there. Butch's trial was a circus. His lawyers tried to argue that he was insane, that he'd been driven to murder by voices in his head. He claimed he heard demons telling him to kill his family. At one point, he even accused his sister Dawn of being the real killer, but the evidence didn't add up. The police found the rifle in his room, and the timeline made it clear he was the only one who could have done it. The prosecution painted him as a cold-blooded killer who murdered his family for money. Ronald Sr. had a life insurance policy, and Butch stood to inherit a lot from his father's estate. But Butch, he was all over the place. One minute he'd be calm and collected, and the next, he'd be ranting about demons and voices. It was hard to tell what was real and what was an act. In the end, the jury didn't buy the insanity defense. Butch was found guilty on 6 counts of second-degree murder and sentenced to 6 consecutive life sentences. He's been in prison ever since. Now here's where it gets really creepy. Butch claimed that the murders happened at exactly 3:15 a.m. He said he heard the voices at that time loud and commanding, telling him to kill them all. And get this, when the medical examiner did the autopsies, he determined that all 6 victims had been killed between 3 and 3:15 a.m. How's that for a coincidence? And then there's the house itself. After the murders, it sat empty for a while. No one wanted to live there. But then, a year later, the Lutz family moved in. They only lasted 28 days. They claimed the house was haunted, that they heard footsteps, saw shadowy figures, and even found green slime oozing from the walls. They said there was a room in the house that was always cold, no matter how much they turned up the heat. And they claimed that at exactly 3:15 a.m. every night, they'd wake up in a panic like something was watching them. Now, I don't know if I believe in ghosts, but there's something about that house. Something dark. Something evil. Maybe it's just the memory of what happened there. Or maybe there's more to it. Either way, I wouldn't set foot in that place if you paid me. The DeFeo murders and the Amityville horror story have become part of American folklore. Books, movies, documentaries, they've all tried to explain what happened. But the truth is, no one really knows. Was Butch DeFeo a cold-blooded killer? Was he possessed by some demonic force? Or was he just a deeply troubled man who snapped under the weight of his own demons? The house at 112 Ocean Avenue still stands, though they've changed the address to keep the curious away. People still drive by, trying to catch a glimpse of it, trying to feel that chill down their spine. But for those of us who were there who remember the DeFeos, it's not a story. It's real. And it's something we'll never forget. This first-person account brings the chilling events of the Amityville horror to life, blending factual details with a conversational tone to make the story feel immediate and real. The DeFeo murders are a haunting reminder of how quickly the ordinary can turn into the unthinkable, and how the echoes of such tragedies can linger for decades,